You are listening to the Wannabe Collective, your new variety podcast featuring every fandom that you could possibly think of. On the Wannabe Collective, all wannabes are welcome. Welcome, everyone. Welcome to the show. You are listening to the Wannabe Collective from Wannabe Critic Productions. I am one of your hosts, Gabriel Fast, and joining me are my friends, my fellow brothers, my fellow podcasting brethren. I am joined by Caleb Henley, Mikey Collins, Rex Tucker, and Ryan Dalton. Tonight we are going to be reviewing Revenge of the Sith after we do a little bit of a catch up. You know, it's been a while since we podcasted, and I'm greatly looking forward to it. So sit back, relax, grab a drink, and let's get started. Caleb, I want to throw it to you first. How you been, man?
Been good, man. Life's good. Nothing really new or exciting is happening in my life, but things are good and I'm happy to be here.
What have you been up to?
Nothing. Like absolutely nothing. I'm trying to think if there's anything worth talking about that's been going on, and nope, nothing. So yeah, I think you should just move it on to Mikey. He's probably way more interesting than me.
Well, I mean, just only this week. You don't have to feel bad. You know, we all go through boring times in our lives, Caleb. It's okay. Mikey, please, for the love of God, I hope you have something interesting that you've been doing.
Nope, still boring.
Oh my God, you guys are the worst.
Rex, best podcast skills of all time.
Rex, how have you been in? What have you been up to?
I've been good. I did an escape room. That's like the funnest thing I probably did lately. And I picked up a new video game. So.
Oh, nice. What have you been playing?
I've been playing Guilty Gear. It's a fighting game.
Oh, Strive, right?
Yeah, Strive.
Yeah.
Guilty Gear Strive. It's kind of like the new Street Fighter. It's pretty fun. I got like an arcade stick and stuff, so it's been cool.
Nice. Yeah, I saw your tweet on that. That looked pretty sweet. And Rex and I have had an in-person fighting game rivalry for quite some time. Whenever Injustice 2 came out, like none of my friends wanted to play with me, like because I would just, I'd be Batman, I'd just get them in a corner and they just like, they just wouldn't fight back. And Rex was the first person that I could ever like continue to just want to, just like fight with. Like we would fight for hours. It was amazing, and I miss those days. But yeah, so Guilty Gear, it kind of looked like that's a long running fighting game series, right?
It is, but they redid it and kind of started fresh with like whole new kind of concepts, and the characters are the same, just kind of redesigned. Okay. But I'm really liking it. Like every character is really interesting and fun to play. So
it's kind of like Soul Calibur, in that like the core mechanics kind of stay the same, but they always kind of just add more flair and more, more
for
polish.
This one, they actually like cut it back. Like it had way more mechanics and they cut it down, made it simpler, like easier for people to get started in. And I think they'll add over time. So it's kind of like they started a totally new series kind of.
Nice. That's cool. Yeah, I've had my eye on it, just in case it goes on sale or something. I don't play a ton of fighting games anymore just because I'm busy doing other stuff, but that's cool. Very cool. You have to keep us updated on that. Ryan, what have you been up to, man, and how you been?
Well, on the gaming side, I tried The Ascent. That was on Game Pass.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't care for it.
Yeah, me either.
Yeah, the art style and direction, everything like that was cool. I felt like it was really good at feeling like an immersive kind of post-apocalyptic cyberpunk world. That was very cool. The controls were devastatingly clunky.
Yeah.
I was so disappointed because I have been for 20 years hoping for a game that would be like a sci-fi version of Diablo 2, that I could enjoy, and nobody has done it. I mean, not even close. And I was hoping this would be it. Not even close.
It looks so good from the
controls are the worst.
And I think that
you can't aim well at all. So you end up just kind of having to spray so that you don't die every 3 seconds.
Yeah.
You can't. They make this whole big thing of, oh, it's a 3D environment, so you can crouch behind stuff and fire over it. No, you can't, because 90% of the barriers are too tall to do that. So you can only fire to the side. You can't actually fire over almost anything. And then they would do crazy stuff. Like I remember there was one point I literally couldn't get past it. I had to go a different way. They had this like sentry gun out, and it would start shooting at you before you even saw it. There was no cover that you could get behind, and then it was at this weird odd angle that you couldn't comfortably aim towards because it would kept sweeping past it. So I died like 50 times trying to get past that thing.
Yeah.
And at that point, it was not long after I deleted it because I about put my control through the window.
Yeah, I had kind of a similar type feeling where it was like, because they kind of advertise it as like a, okay, yeah, it's like the dungeon crawling aspect, but it's more twin stick, right? More of like a twin stick shooter type thing. Yet I can't help but feel that this game would have been much, much, much better on PC. And it is on PC Game Pass, and I'm thinking at some point there's gonna be a barrier to entry with Game Pass, I think, to where it's like I've been saying for weeks, you guys, like to get the full Game Pass experience, you're gonna want to have an Xbox and a PC to get see which games actually run the best, or fit your personality. You realize like, oh, like I didn't like the game on Xbox, but I like it more on PC because of whatever, and there's been very few games, I think, for me, because I would prefer to play on console. But it's funny just to hear you just from the console side, Ryan, kind of talk about your experience just with Game Pass, because now you're like 3 for 3 bullets dodged, I think.
It is already more than paid for itself for the year. So yeah, I remain a fan. So yeah, on for better news, on the book side for me, on the publishing side, we are less than 6 months out of the next book coming out. So that means we're kicking into gear for preparing marketing stuff. So I'm putting together stuff for the publisher. They're putting stuff together, and we're going over some stuff that we're going to do. And that's very exciting because it means we're on the downward slope.
That's really cool. That's gotta feel good. Now, at that point in time, then do you kind of feel like do you feel like you can kind of breathe, or do you kind of jump back into this like mindset of like, okay, I gotta pretty much get started on the next big idea? Like, what's kind of your mindset at this point?
I'm always working on the next thing. At any given point, I usually have something I'm preparing. Like I try to have something like this that's in final stages, something that I'm actively working on, and then something that is in the concept stage. So I try to have a continual pipeline. It doesn't always work, but sometimes. But yeah, I'm already working on a number of things. So,
well, good for you. Well, at least one of us is being studious and astute with their interests. It's great. Let's do a little side segment of it's Bourbon Bros, Beer Bros, Soda Bros, whatever. What's everyone drinking tonight? I'll start. I picked up a bottle of Willet this evening. And for those of you who don't know, Willet is bourbon. It is 94 proof, and it's small batch bourbon. It's delicious, and I'm greatly enjoying that this evening. So, Kayla, what are you drinking?
What else are you drinking, Gabe?
You know what?
That's one of 5.
I have turned over a new leaf. I have my Willet, and I have my Wild Cherry Pepsi Zero, and that's all I have tonight.
Attaboy.
So look at me go.
Making progress.
And I do have a giant jug of water, but that just stays there. So.
Yeah, that doesn't count.
Yeah, that doesn't count.
I am drinking Saranac Ruby Red Ale. So
is it good?
Yeah, it's fine.
Nice. Okay.
It's the last beer that I had in my fridge. So here we are.
Yeah. Well, at least you're drinking it. There's beers that I buy that just sit in my fridge, and then I don't get to them until they're stale, basically. So at least you're actually drinking what you buy.
Can beers go stale?
Oh yeah.
Is that a thing?
Yep. One Clay Villars brought over a porter, which you wouldn't think a porter would go stale.
I have no idea.
But after about a year, I mean, the ingredients, depending on the alcohol content, that's the whole thing. Like with your higher alcohol content and your stouts and stuff like that, and your higher alcohol content porters, those will be fine. And some of them even age in the bottle up to a certain amount of time. Like Bourbon County will age up to 5 years. But like Dogfish Head 120, they say that'll age like forever. That's kind of like wine because of
Yep.
the ingredients in that. So, but yes, to answer your question, long-winded, beers can definitely lose their flavor over time.
Yeah, I never thought about the lower alcohol content. I'm used to just drinking the Goose Islands
Yeah,
and
no.
bush lattes on the side.
Bush. Oh God. Rex, what are you drinking?
I just finished an iced tea and now I just have water.
Oh,
So
okay.
nothing cool.
Well, I mean, water keeps you cool, it keeps you from perspiring. So, Mikey, what about you?
Jack and Coke, keeping it simple.
Keeping it simple. You're a simple man, Mikey. That's why we keep you around. Ryan, are you drinking anything good?
I'm drinking Vietnamese pour over coffee. It is
Oh.
incredibly smooth. I love it. Yeah.
Do you guys do you have a market where you get that, or do you order it?
There is a company, they were on Shark Tank, called Copper Cow. And they sell like 5-packs and different flavors and stuff. This is a salted caramel one.
Oh.
Yeah, I like it. So it's cool. The individual pack has the pour over thing that you kind of you set inside the the coffee cup so you can do the pour over.
Yeah.
And then it includes the Vietnamese coffee. They used sweetened condensed milk that they stir in at the end. It is all delicious, and the coffee is like, it doesn't have that acidic bitterness. It's it actually reminds me of the volcanic coffee that I got in Guatemala, just super smooth.
Wow.
And so yeah, I'm digging that, and just some water aside from that.
I love pour over. It's so good.
I never saw the big deal of it until I tried this. I just kind of took a flyer and thought I'll give it I did cold brew for the longest time, but I did that for like a year, and all of the caffeine finally caught up with me. I burned out hard. and I realized, oh man, I've been having way too much caffeine. That stuff is like jet fuel. So I haven't had a cold brew in a couple 2 or 3 months, I think. And I've been just slowly having one of these, not even every day, just whenever I feel like it.
It's bad. Like, the caffeine thing is bad. And this was a realization for me. I had to kind of go like, not cold turkey, but just really like cut back, because I was drinking like a G Fuel, like 3 or 4 sodas a day, like eat some coffee sometimes, like just caffeine nonstop. And it is a drug, so it's bad. We went to the wash pan, our family's property, and or my wife's family's property, and we were there, and I was like, oh, I forgot my G Fuel, whatever. We were going to be there for a week. So literally for every day I didn't have my G Fuel, and every single morning at the exact same time I woke up and I'm like, God, what is going on? And about 3 or 4 days in, I realized it's because of the G Fuel. Like, my body's used to that, that caffeine rush about 10 a.m. It's like, I need it right now. So, I was like worried. It was like really bad. But after about a week, I'd kind of slowed down on it. I still drink it for sure. Like, I still drink caffeine and coffee and all that jazz, but it's just way less now. So, but don't do drugs, kids. So, well, everyone has a decent array of beverages this evening, and I'm happy. We all have the amount of beverages that I would normally have in one evening, one podcast. We all kind of shared the load tonight. I just realized I didn't get to say what I've been up to. And then after that, we'll do a bit of housekeeping before we get into our review. I've been playing a lot of Marvel's Avengers and making a lot of videos around Marvel's Avengers. And I've been having a lot of fun kind of figuring out the review process. Cause there's been this project I've wanted to do for a long time. And, I've wanted to jump into gaming reviews and make my YouTube channel like a gaming YouTube channel, and like like a personality type channel. So it's been a lot of fun to work on that, and I've really enjoyed making the content and going through the process. And Avengers really is a perfect game to do that, because you're never quite sure what you're going to get when you're looking at it from a critical eye. And the good moments surprise you. The good moments make the notes that you write down, it makes you excited to talk about it, because there's a ray of hope in there at some point. It keeps you coming back to the game. So been enjoying doing that. Wannabe stuff has been doing pretty well just in terms of projects. Beer Bros East Side is officially in full swing, as well as Punch Counter Punch. So Beer Bros East Side will be coming out within, by the time this comes out, it could be out already very, very soon. As well as Punch Counter Punch is over on the old Wannabe Critic podcast feed. There will be more projects on the Wannabe Critic podcast feed. One that I'm not really ready to talk about yet, but also I will be posting podcast versions of those videos, though the Avengers video reviews over there as well, and kind of continuing certain series on just in podcast form as well. So keep an eye out for that. We got a lot of stuff going on. It's great. And I think if I'm not mistaken, for the month of August, I believe Retro Reviews will be making a return, if I'm not mistaken. That's of course Rex and Caleb's show. So what is it again, you guys? Back to the Future?
Yep.
Nice. So are you gonna do like all three, or are you just doing one? You're gonna okay, you're going for all three. I haven't listened to it yet. So I'm excited to, get behind the chair on that one and schedule it out. And you'll be hearing from us on Twitter, whenever that's available. So, watch it. Just watch it. I'm excited. I love that show. So I'm looking forward to listening to it. So, but yeah, lots of good stuff all around. Sounds like everyone's pretty busy, and I'm excited. It's been 2 or 3 weeks. It seemed like last month was a pretty long month, and it feels like forever since we've actually sat down to do one of these. So it's going to be nice to have kind of like a back-to-back type of thing. And then of course, the third week of August, as far as I know, we will be tackling the Daniel Craig Bond movies with a new podcast guest, someone that will be helping us with that project. I don't know that we'll all be able to be involved with it, but we can definitely, we're at least gonna tackle those movies first, and then see how we want to approach the rest of the James Bond series after that. So stay tuned for that as well. But tonight, we are talking about Star Wars Episode 3, Revenge of the Sith, rated PG-13 at a runtime of 2 hours and 20 minutes, released in 2005. The IMDb description, and I don't think it's the same as the crawl. Yeah, no, it's not. It says, nearly 3 years have passed since the beginning of the Clone Wars. The Republic, with the help of the Jedi, take on Count Dooku and the Separatists. With a new threat rising, the Jedi Council sends Obi-Wan Kenobi and Anakin Skywalker to aid the captured Chancellor. Anakin feels he is ready to be promoted to Jedi Master. Obi-Wan is hunting down the Separatist General Grievous. When Anakin has future visions of pain and suffering coming Padme's way, he sees Master Yoda for counsel. When Darth Sidious executes Order 66, it destroys most of all the Jedi have built. Experience the birth of Darth Vader. Feel the betrayal that leads to hatred between two brothers, and witness the power of hope. So that was a nice little summation. Well done, IMDb. Just out of curiosity, what do you guys think this has score-wise on IMDb?
67.
Let's go with that.
Okay, that's not bad.
I'm betting 85.
Okay,
No, I doubt it's that high.
73.
Rex wins. It's 7.5 out of 10.
Oh, wow.
I was so close.
The popularity, I've never seen this before. It's like on a downward, like it has a lot of thumbs down, it looks like. Oh no, that's just with
That's
popularity.
the ranking.
Yeah, that's like the ranking. So it went down 65 spots to 1233. So it was higher. It was 65 spots higher, which I guess makes sense. It's a pretty popular movie, with pop culture. So a bit of trivia for this movie before we get into the review. Check this out. It says the original cut of this movie ran nearly 4 hours. The opening battle / Palpatine rescue alone ran over an hour. The extra footage of the Palpatine rescue scene is shown in the video game for this movie. However, George Lucas deliberately made the Darth Vader suit top heavy, for instance, adding weight on the helmet to make Hayden Christensen not appear too accustomed to it in the movie, which, I mean, okay. This is actually a
You mean
good piece.
for all 3 seconds that he wore it in the movie?
That's what I was about to say. He's like barely in it.
Yeah.
He's
It's the
standing
little
in it for 2
details, the
It's
seconds.
the little
details
things.
that count.
Yeah, it's the little things that make a difference.
We wanted it to look real, so we filled his helmet with cement.
Yeah, exactly. This is
In the world.
my saga needed it. The images of the volcanic eruption on Mustafar is real footage of Mount Etna in Italy, which was erupting at the time of production, which I did not know, and that's pretty rad. Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen trained for 2 months in fencing and fitness in preparation for their epic battle. As a result of their practice, the speed at which Kenobi and Vader engage the duel in the completed movie is the speed in which it was filmed and was not digitally accelerated, which is actually pretty impressive. You know, that scene where they're all, you know, doing the thing. You can't see what the flip is happening. Okay, and then last little bit, actually 2 more. Chancellor Palpatine's strategy for maintaining power is known to political scientists and is called perpetual war. He comes to power through conflict with the Trade Federation, gains greater privileges through the Clone War, and solidifies his position through war on the Jedi. And then finally, a 10-year-old Han Solo was going to appear during the Battle of Kashyyyk as an orphan being raised by Chewbacca. He would have helped locate General Grievous by finding part of a transmitter droid that was sending signals from Utapau, allowing Obi-Wan to find and confront the villain. Solo's young adult years were covered in Solo, a Star Wars story. Yeah.
I'm glad they didn't do that.
Yeah, I can't tell if Ryan is frozen or if he's just making.
Frozen.
Okay, I was like, that's quite the face to make. Yeah,
I think you killed him with that last little fun fact.
yeah. So yeah, there's that. 949 out of 964 found this interesting, is what it says. Well, I feel bad for Ryan because this is what it feels like. Oh, and he left. Okay, well, he's texted me. He says, power outage. I will be back. Okay, well, we'll keep going
He's
without him.
pissed.
Yeah, exactly. He's mad. So there's some fun facts. There's the IMDb, roundup for this movie. But let's go ahead and get into our official review. So, Caleb, why don't you go ahead and read the crawl for us?
All right, let's do this. War. The Republic is crumbling under attacks by the ruthless Sith Lord Count Dooku. There are heroes on both sides. Evil is everywhere. In a stunning move, the fiendish droid leader General Grievous has swept into the Republic capital and kidnapped Chancellor Palpatine, leader of the Galactic Senate. As the separatist droid army attempts to flee the besieged capital with their valuable hostage, 2 Jedi Knights lead a desperate mission to rescue the captive Chancellor.
You read that like it was Clone Wars.
Yeah, exactly. Whoa. Good one. Thank you, Caleb, for that. So, Revenge of the Sith. I remember this movie being like massive in the theaters. It was such a big deal. Like we were, everyone at the schoolyard was talking about it. It was something that I was thinking about like nonstop as a kid, basically. And I just remember you couldn't turn the TV on without seeing a commercial for it. It was a huge deal. Do you guys remember anything about the early days of whenever this movie was coming out? Can you recall anything to mind?
I just remember everyone dressing up and going and waiting in line to see it. I also remember my parents not wanting me to see this movie at the age I was at because I think of one scene where Anakin just murders a bunch of children. But yeah, that's basically it.
I think I wore a Darth Vader mask when I went into the theater.
Did you?
I think so.
Wow.
I was 15, so I was in high school. Yeah.
You were 15? You were 15 whenever Revenge of the Sith came out?
Yep.
In 2005?
Mm-hmm.
Man, you're old.
was in high school.
Wow, you're an old man. Sorry, Ryan.
Not
Welcome
that
back.
much older than you.
Thank you.
Welcome back to the chat, Ryan.
I lost power for 1 second, which was enough to knock out the internet for a minute. So
That's what happened. My power went out earlier today too. It was super weird, like just a really weird occurrence. I don't know. We were talking about though how kind of the hype around this movie whenever it came out back in 2005, and all of the press generating things marketing wise. Can you speak to anything? Do you remember like how it felt to go to the theater? I mean, how was it? How did it feel to you? As this movie was kind of coming out.
well, yeah, it was big, but we'd also had our hearts broken twice by then, by two horrible movies. So I think we went in. I know I went in not excited because I figured it would suck. So I was actually kind of pleasantly surprised that it wasn't nearly as bad as the other two. So yeah, it was like, were people excited? Yeah, to an extent, but more they were going just because they wanted to see what would happen with Anakin and how it would happen. I would say there wasn't. I mean, yeah, the most excitement I've seen going into a movie was for episode 1, and then people left and were not as excited. So for 3, I think everyone was just kind of having measured expectations.
Yeah. Do you think? Well, before I ask this next question, Mikey, do you remember anything about this movie, like as it was coming out?
As it was coming out?
Yeah, like just the marketing
Um,
for it, like because I don't remember really talking to you about this movie at all, really, when we were kids.
Not really. This is when my parents wouldn't let me watch Star Wars. I remember it came out. I was like, please let me watch this movie. And so I watched this one before I ever even saw, I think, Clone Wars, I believe. So I
Gotcha.
didn't know what was going on, but it was awesome.
You mean Attack of the Clones? God.
Or whatever it's called. It should be deleted. But yeah, I don't remember any of it. Sorry
Yeah,
about that.
I remember it being a big deal, and I have to ask, like, do you think the fondness for these movies, or at least for this movie, I can hear someone came in or did something. Someone's in my house. I think it's my wife. She was out. The fondness for this movie, do you think it's gotten better over time versus whenever it first came out? Because I feel like now I like this movie a lot more now, and I think it's actually aged pretty well, kind of along with the rest of the prequels, or decently well. There are things that I appreciate more now, even a couple years ago, or than I did a couple years ago. Excuse me. Can you guys speak to that at all? Like, do you kind of feel the same way at all?
I think it's the only one that's aged well. I think the other two are as bad as they ever were. But looking at this one, the things that I appreciated immediately, I can just appreciate even more now. And now being a professional writer, I can also appreciate the things that were done well, because some things were. I think Palpatine's character, the way he was acted, but also I gotta say his dialogue was among the best of the entire Star Wars saga. It was really exceptionally well done, and that I can appreciate even more now. So I actually, despite, of course, there's things I didn't like, but there was also plenty that I enjoyed watching again.
Yeah, and I think the best way for me to say it too is I think there's personal small things for me that I appreciate more now. I don't think the movies quote unquote aged well, but there were things that I think I like more now than I ever did before. Go ahead, Caleb.
Yeah, I think that this, kind of big shocker, but this is obviously the best one out of the prequels. And it's probably the most entertaining and most exciting. But I think if you came in watching this movie, which I've done several times without the context or without having watched the other two prequels beforehand, it can be pretty jarring. Like it's kind of out there in some ways. It's just like the way the dialogue is and just the way it's kind of paced. And there's just kind of some like weird awkwardness that might be because it was just filmed in front of a bunch of green and blue screens. That makes it kind of interesting, makes it kind of jarring. But at the same time, like you're already kind of prepared for that, but because you watched the other two, it makes it a little easier to handle, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, no, I agree with that. And I think we've talked about too kind of how I buy this movie fitting in with, all the Clone Wars stuff. Like I kind of buy I think that might be why I've liked these movies more. And I was even watching A New Hope today after I watched Revenge, and I was like, okay, I'm like enjoying A New Hope more than I ever have before, ever. Like I actually like the movie, I'm enjoying it. Whereas before I was kind of notorious among our friend group of not liking A New Hope. Um, Blasphemy, I know. So I don't know. I think it's kind of interesting how it is kind of a two-edged sword a little bit about how, and this is something Mikey said before, about how there is a good complete story there, and there are things I think you can pick up and appreciate if you consume it all. But the things that are bad, if you haven't consumed it all, like really, really stick out as being like unforgivable almost. It's like, God, that is so bad. It's like, yeah, but did you watch that? Like, did you watch the Clone Wars? Because there's a lot of cringe stuff in that too. Um, so I don't know. That's kind of my last little thing on that for sure. Do we like this movie? I like it. I mean, I don't think I love it, but I do like it. What do you think, Caleb?
No, I think that this is a really good, solid, like it's a fun ride. Like I like this movie. I mean, I again, best out of the prequels for sure. And there's a lot of really good stuff there. It just kind of has that kind of clunkiness that all of the prequels tend to have. Um, but overall, this is like by far the best one out of all of them. And it's a perfectly fine movie, in my opinion.
Do we all collectively agree with that statement?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I feel the same way. Um, so we have a few talking points around this movie. Obviously we had kind of the plot recapped for us from the IMDb, and Caleb kind of filled us in from the beginning, and we have the this gap to fill in from when Vader arises to whenever we go in, with the two starships. There's a lot to cover in between there, and I think Ryan had a good point that I think it would be kind of cool to start with, just in talking about Palpatine and kind of his rise to power, and I think there was quite a bit of detail you had to share, and I think I kind of know where you're going with it. So do you mind to take it from there, Ryan?
Yeah, sure. I just loved watching him in every scene he was in. He's so slimy and such a snake, but he's so good at it. And just those scenes with him, I could appreciate even more the nuances of him little by little driving a wedge in between Anakin and the Jedi, just like picking at the threads to slowly pull them apart. Just little things, little throwaway comments, even things that Anakin objected to, but you could see kind of later on had gotten to him. Um, I thought his character was beautiful to watch him just be so good at being so underhanded. Um, and you could see like how deftly he did it, and it helped. To me, it's like you could really understand watching him. Okay, this is how this guy ended up with essentially supreme power, because he's so good at doing this, good enough that he did it under the nose of the Jedi Council, and they couldn't nail him down until it was too late. Um, I think Ian McDermott this is his finest hour. Watching his acting there was actually a couple of points that I rewound and watched again, because I just loved seeing him chew up the scenery. And I was really, really impressed with him most of all in the movie. I had a blast watching him.
Anything to add to that from anyone else? Go ahead, Caleb.
Yeah, I mean, I really appreciate Palpatine. He's one of my favorite characters in all of Star Wars. Just his story throughout the entire, especially through the first six, is just really, really good. But I will say, like, especially after watching Attack of the Clones 2, I just wish it was a little bit more subtle in like what he's doing. George Lucas kind of, I think, has a tendency, especially in these prequels, to beat you over the head with whatever idea he's trying to convey. And I think that kind of happens with Palpatine. It's just so obvious to everybody, except for apparently the Jedi, who should be kind of in tune with this sort of thing, that he's a Sith. Like, it's just blatantly obvious. I mean, basically from the Phantom Menace. So it's just, I don't know. I wish it could have been done maybe a little bit more artfully, maybe put us a little bit more in the position of, the Jedi, and like having it be like a bigger like more about like reveal, like when it's revealed that it's him, because you just don't really have that, because like Anakin finally, like after, you know, over half of the movie realizes that, oh my gosh, he's a Sith Lord. And it's like, yeah, duh, like catch up, like come on, man. So I just wish it was a little bit more subtle. But I mean, I love Palpatine. He's a great character.
I love
Think of it
that.
this way: the galaxy is full of slimy politicians. There are only 2 Sith Lords, so the odds of him being a Sith Lord were actually pretty low. The odds of him being a slimy politician really high. The odds of him being both were astronomical.
And I
Yeah,
think,
but
yeah, go ahead,
no, I
Caleb.
was just gonna say, yeah, but he's like, he's specifically saying things like, oh, the like, don't do things the Jedi way. Like, he's talking about Darth Plagueis the Wise. It's just like so blatantly obvious that if Anakin had any, like, you know, sensible idea of it, like he, like, it would have been just so blatantly obvious. I don't know. I get that there's literally like probably millions of slimy politicians like that, but it's also like, come on, like the Jedi are with this guy almost every single day, like sitting in a room with him, talking about how they're gonna go over the war together, and you can't like get any hints that this guy's like bad and like that he's not obviously the Sith Lord. Like it's just, I don't know. It's kind of unrealistic. But again, all of Star Wars is kind of unrealistic, so it's whatever.
Go ahead. Just say it, baby.
Coming from like I know like taking this movie on its own, it does not really make sense. But I mean, coming from the Clone Wars, you know, Anakin knows as soon as he starts talking about stuff like that. You're the Anakin in that show. He's like, obviously this guy. So I think they kind of cleaned it up in there where it's just like right then, I basically right at the theater or wherever they're at when he starts talking about that, he knows. So he chose his path kind of there for me. That's how I think of it. But if with the movie alone, though, yeah, it makes no sense at all.
Well, and that's the thing is, for the past 2 movies, they've subtly played at the idea of playing at the Jedi's hubris, right? Like really kind of taking their hubris into account and saying like, okay, you think you know, this is the way we do things, like this is how it's done, yada yada yada, and that is what makes it shocking for us, at least, or for me. But at the detriment of basically making the Jedi look dumb a lot. Like it makes them look stupid, and that's the problem.
Yeah,
That's
the
the
Jedi
problem.
leaders. Sorry, Gabe. The Jedi leaders were inept on multiple levels, so it
Yeah.
doesn't surprise me. I think you could justify them not totally picking up on it because they they were half responsible for their own downfall.
Yeah, for sure.
And also for other reasons I'll talk about later when we get into it. But yeah, I mean, this was a Jedi Order, much like the Republic itself, that was on its last legs.
Yeah.
And it had become a shadow of itself, and it would have crumbled one way or another.
Yeah. And it's interesting to watch Anakin in those moments, though, because Mikey kind of hit it on the head. And how I felt is like, it's almost like Palpatine has he doesn't have to say the Jedi are idiots. All he has to do is get Anakin to think that they're idiots, because Anakin already thinks they're idiots. Like, you're not going to make me a master. You're not going to put me on the council. You're not going to do this, this, and this. And he's been thinking stuff like that, even with Obi-Wan. Like, okay, you're an idiot. You know what I mean? Like, he kind of has that hot-headed way about him. And yeah, I think it's hard because in Revenge, I agree with Caleb. It's multiple times they're like, boom, boom, boom. You know, here it is. But to Mikey's point about, you know, Clone Wars kind of cleaning a lot of that up, by the time you would get to that point, if you had watched it in sequential order, it would finally feel a little more, you know, gratifying and more of a, okay, like finally all this is kind of coming to an impasse. But at the same time, I do think that there could have been, you know, and here's one thing too. Mace Windu realizes something is happening. He's kind of like, you know, I sense a plot to overthrow the Jedi, basically by the time it's too late. So just the fact, and they were talking about the Chancellor, you know, all of these things adding up, and they kind of allude to, you know, the council kind of, you know, meeting about the Chancellor. They never show us, But there's like, think about it. It doesn't make sense that the chancellor hasn't given up his, his emergency power and yada, 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 and all this other stuff. So go ahead, Rex.
I was gonna say that Anakin was also like really worried about Padme and like stressed out about all these different things. So in a way, it does make a little bit of sense why he wouldn't like immediately just recognize like, oh, he's talking about a Sith Lord. Like that's weird. So I don't know.
I guess that makes
Yeah,
a lot of sense. That
that
he's
is
just
true.
so blinded by his love and emotions, for Padme that it just all goes over his head. But that's still, I think Ryan wanted to talk about this a little bit more, was that doesn't excuse Mace and Yoda and all the other guys on the council for not picking that up. And that's always been something that's kind of bugged me about this movie, is how it kind of depicts the
But
good guys in this movie.
but the audience sees a lot more than what the Jedi see. So I don't know if I can see that.
Yeah, but the Jedi are supposed to have the Force. Like they're supposed to be able to see more than we can even see, in a sense. I don't know. It's a weird balance of just what we can't see and they can't see, but what they are supposed or alluded to being able to see that we can't. It's a weird balance. I don't know.
And
They can't see into the dark
yeah,
side,
well,
right?
and I mean, just Palpatine's supposed to be this grandiose Sith Lord that has masked himself for X amount of time, and they even say like, oh, the Chancellor like is shrouded in the dark side, like the dark side of the Force shrouds the Chancellor or whatever. Like, okay, why don't you go and like push the subject a little bit, So everyone's so worried about like upholding their honor and like upholding the right way to do something that they're not even going to go ask the Chancellor about it. Go ahead, Caleb.
Yeah, and it just makes me think, like when Anakin goes up to Mace and tells Mace, like, hey, the Sith Lord that we're after, it's the Chancellor. Mace questions him. Like he doesn't believe Anakin, like right in that moment. Like even then, it should have like hit Mace like a ton of bricks, like, oh, duh, but it doesn't. Like they're
Yeah.
so blind and dumb and like oblivious to it that they're just, I don't know. And that just doesn't super work for me, but it's not, I don't know.
These Jedi, this kind of goes back to what I was saying. Compare these Jedi to the Old Republic Jedi, they're a bunch of scrubs.
Yep.
And like, yeah, they're that's what I was saying. They're a shadow of what the Jedi at their height were. And yet the Sith, although they're smaller in number, have retained a lot of what it meant to be Sith. The Sith were actually a lot truer to their creed than the Jedi were. The Jedi slipped into essentially being what they ended up being, which is what led to their downfall. So I there's a lot I think there that was behind them being overthrown.
Can somebody be shrouded? I haven't read many of the comics, so I don't know, but can somebody be shrouded in the dark side like that and not be, you know what I mean? Like, is that a thing?
The
That's a
general
good
understanding
point.
is that dark side energy is related to bad things.
Oh, okay. So he could just be thinking like he's gonna kill somebody.
Well, even like when the war started, Yoda said the shroud of the dark side has fallen. So I think it's that. Of course, it depends on who's writing it sometimes, but
Yeah, that's true.
some writers will show that like pain and suffering and misery feed the power of the dark side.
Let the hate through you.
Yeah,
basically.
Got it.
And I love political intrigue, but the subtleness of making something apparent to where it hits us. I want to be shown like what is happening rather than being like, oh yeah, guess what? They were idiots the whole time. And I think you have to look for those points, at least for Yoda. And I know Ryan wanted to talk about Yoda too in this movie and why he's, it's whatever. Like he just, and I think I know what you're gonna say in that. Just go ahead. Just say it, baby. Just say it.
Okay, so yeah, I've got some serious shade to throw at Yoda because he directly contributed both to Anakin's downfall and the Jedi's downfall as a result. So, and it starts before, but you can really see it happening after Anakin has had yet another prophetic dream about someone dying, the other of which came true, and he goes looking for he's looking for a lifeline and to talk to Yoda, and yet rather than talking to him like a real person in a real world with a real conflict, Yoda just kind of fired Jedi philosophy at him. He gave him nothing real to cling to. He gave him no help or no support. It was just super cold, super impersonal. I'm not done, Rex. Put your hand down. I'm on a roll. And basically he said the advice was, all right, well, you should let them die and you should feel nothing, which is incredibly frustrating, because if the Jedi had done better with this, Vader may not have existed at all. And then they try to turn him into a spy, even while he was, in the middle of all this conflict. It's like they expected him to magically be this detached person that's unaffected by everything, but they didn't actually teach him how to have any peace. So he just got Creed fired at him, and he got taught nothing. They left him on his own, really, to twist and all this. And then at the end, Yoda immediately switched to, we have to kill him. I guarantee you, a Jedi who's lived 900 years has seen a Jedi fall to the dark side and be redeemed. And yet he immediately says, oh, we have to kill him. He does nothing to try to redeem this kid who he played a part in him turning to the dark side. I wish both he and Obi-Wan actually had tried harder and really given their all to try like everything they could to drag Anakin back from the dark side. But it was like Yoda first, and then eventually Obi-Wan reached a point where they're just like, oh, well, I guess I do have to kill you. And it was just, it was disgraceful the way that they treated him. They were
For
directly
for one key reason,
done.
though. Oh, yeah. And I don't want to, I want to get to what Rex wanted to say. The tipping point was, and you're right. I'm not disagreeing with you. I'm just kind of piggybacking off of you. The tipping point was maybe they had been feeling that way. Yoda might have been feeling that way with Obi-Wan. Yet the tipping point was, holy crap, Anakin just killed all these kids. So how can you how can someone be redeemed like that, with all this Jedi dogma and all this other stuff that they've lived with for so long? It just kind of goes to show
Darth Revan.
Yeah, exactly. Like it's interesting just how the humanity or like the morality of the subject kind of got pulled out of questions. Like they immediately turned on their brother. Go ahead, Rex.
I was just going to say that I slightly disagree with the whole Yoda thing, because if he did follow Yoda's advice, then, what would have happened with Padme dying would not have happened. Like it would have corrected his course. So yes, like I agree that he didn't like deliver it in a practical way, but his advice still stood, I think, and was correct for that instance.
You disagree? Have it out. Do it.
No, yeah, I disagree, because it was the wrong advice at the wrong time. In a less emotionally charged point, yeah, maybe it would have been appropriate to say, essentially, you need to chill and have peace and let whatever's going to happen. Not when Yoda obviously knew what was happening, and he knew before to Anakin, and there were points you could tell he knew before anyone else what was happening. And yet he relied on textbook Jedi philosophy or Jedi philosophy as it had developed by the time they met their end. Part of the reason that the Old Republic Jedi were so powerful, so effective, and so legendary is because they were not ice cold monks. The Jedi had become that over centuries, and that was part of what contributed to their downfall, because actually Palpatine was right in a certain sense that they took such a slivered, minimal view of the Force and the things they would allow themselves to do and feel, that they ended up shackling themselves, really. So yeah, I think, in another situation, maybe that advice would have worked. I think a wise 900-year-old Jedi master should have been able to look at Anakin and say, this thing I'm about to tell you is only going to make it worse. So let's find another way. And that's where I was saying he wasn't actually trying to teach Anakin and trying to help him. He was just giving him a rule book and saying, follow this.
And it is hard, I think. I see both sides for sure. It would have made more sense for him to have gone to Mace Windu, because that conflict between him and Mace, that would have made Mace's death way more powerful, actually, because Mace is all about, I don't trust this kid, whatever. We would have seen him do this, whatever. And Yoda's actually kind of shown the type of attitude that you're talking about, Ryan, or what he should have done. He shows that more later to Luke, and I was also thinking that, one person that really could have benefited Anakin here would have been Ahsoka Tano. Because she would have given like an actual balanced outlook on what was happening, whether he would have realized it or not. I think, his own Padawan. Go ahead, Caleb.
But yeah, I have one more thing. Sorry, after you, Caleb. I don't want to interrupt.
No, I was just gonna say, I think that Ryan is definitely a kind of spot on with his analysis about Yoda, because Yoda has a really big part in the destruction of kind of the Jedi and letting it all kind of happen. Just because he's just kind of inept in a few different ways. And it just, I don't know, makes you kind of sad, because the whole time you're kind of like growing up, and like when you've watched, the old movies, Yoda's like this, he's almost like a legend, like of him being this old Jedi master who's 900 years old. And he has all of the wisdom. He's the most powerful Jedi, in the order. And you also are led to believe that in the first two prequel movies, but then just to see just kind of how he allows all of these different things to happen, and how he does give this just kind of dogmatic and unemotional response, doesn't show any empathy for Anakin and what he's going through. It just makes you sad, because it's just like, man, this is supposed to be like one of your favorite characters, and he's just absolutely just blowing it. Like seeing like in the Clone Wars, or not in the Clone Wars, in Attack of the Clones, like seeing Jar Jar like being one of the reasons why, Palpatine got more power. Like that kind of works, because you want to root against Jar Jar. But like seeing Yoda being one of these key figures and bringing the destruction of the Jedi, it tugs at your heart. It sucks. But I don't know. I do think it works, but it doesn't give you a good feeling.
Yeah. Luke's arc in the original trilogy also throws that in stark relief, because part of the point of Luke's character growth is that he was supposed to, through his trials, become a better Jedi than those Jedi were that allowed all of that to happen. And what does he do after becoming that better Jedi? He empathizes with his father, lets him know in no uncertain terms, I believe there's still good in you. And what does he do? He turns him back from the dark side. Yep. That's all it would have taken to keep him from falling. And that's why the Jedi of that time were so inept and part of the architects of their own failure.
Yep. Go ahead, Mikey.
What you just said is why I don't agree with how they treated Anakin and Obi-Wan's parting, because their relationship, Obi-Wan would not have left him there. I don't agree with that. I don't think that's what would have happened. I think he probably would have incapacitated him, and he probably still would have had to chop all of his limbs off, but he would have taken Anakin with him. I've never agreed with that. There's no way, like, and even if he still became Darth Vader, like that is not what Obi-Wan would have done.
That's a great point. I totally agree with that.
But I don't know. That's just always bugged me about that whole scene, because that's such a great fight, and you're like, really? That's how? Okay, all right, cool, I guess. But
I do want to break this up with something funny. I literally, ironically, just read it today, and it cracked me up. It said, in truth, Obi-Wan was actually master of the low ground. He killed Darth Maul from below. He killed Grievous from below. And then by proclaiming he had the high ground, he tricked Anakin into taking the high ground so he could attack from the low ground.
It's true. That is pretty funny.
Genius.
That's awesome.
But also, what if the council just never let Anakin in and stuck to their, initial thoughts?
They should have never let him in. Like,
Obi-Wan would have left.
Then all this wouldn't have happened.
The fact that they allowed the Chancellor to put somebody on the council is just like insane. Like absolutely insane.
Well, if you want to follow the thread, you could go back and ultimately thank Qui-Gon for the downfall of the Jedi and the Republic.
Exactly.
He found Jar Jar and he found Anakin.
Yep.
Is there an alternate timeline story? I don't know. Like I said, I haven't read the comics. Is there an alternate timeline where they don't accept him and Obi-Wan does still train him and they both become Gray Jedi? That'd be cool.
Well, the interesting thing is the original lore. I remember from when I was a kid, and
Mhm.
all we had were the original trilogy. Kind of the lore that everyone that went around was that basically that technically I think was what was supposed to have happened, is that Obi-Wan did train him without the approval of the council. I think when they actually made the movies, they made the change to where the council kind of begrudgingly said, okay, go ahead. But in the sort of like rumored lore for years until all of that happened, it was that he did it, basically as a rogue.
If that would
That
have
would have
been
been
way better
that
for
would way more
legacy,
interesting.
like because then it connects the entire line from
Yeah.
from because Yoda. Have you guys read any of the High Republic stuff?
I have, and I just started the second book today or
So
the other day.
what's kind of interesting is they kind of allude to Yoda kind of being in his prime during the High Republic and kind of really having a heightened state of that hubris and kind of like not really agreeing with certain things with the council of that time, and or it just implied. And I'm like, man, that would have made a lot of sense had Yoda felt that same way whenever he trained Dooku. If Dooku kind of like saw those same types of things, it's like whenever your dad like says, okay, this is the way you should do things, but that you have to make allowances here, here, and here, right? It would have made sense from Yoda to Dooku to Qui-Gon to Obi-Wan to Luke. Would have made sense all the way through that had that been the case and been a distinct like, okay, yes. And then also, it would have made more sense that I would connect with what Ryan was saying about Yoda could have made allowances and been like, dude, look, I know I know you think I'm an idiot. Like, I don't buy that Yoda and Mace Windu and everyone on the council didn't know that he totally knocked up Padme and married her. There's no way.
Yeah.
Like, that doesn't make any sense. It's like Padme's like, have you seen Senator Amidala? She's looking a little preggers. You know what I mean? It's like, yeah, wait a minute. Doesn't Anakin? Oh God. Like that. Come
God,
on.
no.
Come
Didn't
on.
Anakin go with her by themselves a few months
Yes.
ago somewhere?
Like,
Right.
didn't we literally send they were on oh God. You know what I mean?
Would that make the story too traditional though? Because then you have somebody who is a rogue who can do whatever they want, and it probably would validate the decisions the Jedi made. Though it wouldn't make it would if he was an outsider that is still doing Jedi things and infiltrates the Jedi, it would make them look less dumb. I think that would actually fix the whole, But yeah, since he's in it, it makes them look like idiots, though.
Well, there were a lot of choices I didn't agree with. I didn't like
Yeah.
the whole Chosen One thing. I thought it was
man.
completely unnecessary. Would have been so much better for him to be this underestimated kid from this backwater planet no one's ever heard of, and suddenly, oh crap, he's the most powerful Jedi ever, and now, oh crap, he's slaughtering all of us.
Yeah.
I
Yeah. Well,
agree with
that's
that.
I like that.
yeah, kind of going back to no, I agree with that, and I don't want to like backtrack too much, but also, you know what? No, I'm not going to say it. I don't want to. Let's just keep moving. Let's just
Say it.
keep going. Okay,
Do
I'll
it.
say it. Even just going back to the whole Yoda thing too. Like, Yoda should have been kind of how he is in the original trilogy. He should have been that way in this trilogy. And he kind of should have been he should have been the rogue on the council, to where it was like whenever things came up and Mace and Coyote Moondai and all these people wanted to call him on his crap, and he'd be like the council says this and this, and it's like, okay, well, are you gonna depose me? Like, bring it. You know what I mean? Like, that would have been rad, and it would have made sense. And then it also would have made Anakin's decision moving forward, had he decided to be selfish and turn to the dark side, it would have meant more, and it would have been more powerful because he would have directly made that decision, as well as being turned against everything he had known already. Go ahead, Caleb.
I kind of disagree with that though, because as much as like it tugs at your heart and it hurts to see Yoda being the person that kind of is responsible for the things going wrong, I also like that all of his things that he's done wrong and the way that he was has allowed him, now that he's been in exile, that he's kind of just grown from it and has kind of almost gone insane from the pressure of it all, and has changed so much due to probably the immense guilt that he felt from not catching on and allowing things to get as bad as they did. So I kind of do like that character development. And I mean, I don't know, keeping him perfectly consistent throughout the whole thing. I mean, I guess it could have worked, but I also kind of like the idea that he messed up, and that drove him in like through guilt to become this crazed puppet in the middle of a swamp. I don't know.
This movie for me, for Yoda, doesn't make it better for him when he is in the original trilogy. It makes it worse, because for me, it's not that he's learned from his mistakes. It's he's gone senile and is just randomly, it's not that his character is better. It's that, oh, he's just insane now.
It's a little bit of both though. Like he's crazy,
it's
but
more
also
senile.
But also he's
me.
he's with it enough to like be like doing training for like other Jedi that are like, because later on, like it's a weird combination. Like he's just, it's weird.
But what would have meant more though? What would have meant more? Him saying, because this is basically what happened. He ran away. Like he ran away and didn't do anything. And he probably told Luke, like, yeah, I ran away. So what's better, saying I ran away or saying, you know what? I fought my hardest, but I lost. Like, you know what I mean? Because
They're
never,
true, really.
they are both true, but still the way it's presented, it's just like he tucked tail and just left.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I didn't like that he just left that fight so quickly. And then he's like, I have to go into exile. Like
he takes a couple bumps, he falls, he just takes a tumble, and he's like, oh God, I gotta get out of here. This sucks. Like, ow.
in his, I will say in his defense, he felt like 5 stories.
Yeah, that's true. He's a small
900 years old.
Yeah,
he's
real old. It's a good thing he didn't just turn to dust when he hit the floor.
Yeah.
The only thing with that though is the next scene, he's just like bear crawling through these like tunnels like it's no problem. So so
he broke his Jedi bone. Come on, no.
Yeah. Maybe that's Well, yeah, it is true.
The council had to fall though, right? To get to the trilogy, like it had to.
Yeah,
it had to fall, and Yoda is the morning star of the council in that he kind of represents the highest power of the Jedi Council. So it only makes sense that the highest power would fall from grace, and that would be the direct representation that we see on screen is like, okay, the Jedi are dead, like they're going down.
He even agrees that he failed at the end, like
it's weird though, because he's like the morning star and like the point of it, but at the same time they paint Mace as the bad guy, like Mace is the problem and he's the reason it's all, but really it's Yoda. Like it's kind of funny that they do it like that.
Does Yoda know that Order 66 is a thing? Do they ever show that in this movie?
Yeah, because he beheads both of his.
Well, I think he senses their murderous intent. Yeah, but I mean, I don't think any of the Jedi knew what the Order was. I mean,
like the specifics.
I think he could feel them coming.
I feel
it's kind of ridiculous. Like, he was the only one, but
yeah. I don't.
If the Jedi went down way too easily.
They did, dude.
Yeah,
if they would have shown that maybe Yoda was in danger as well as he failed, I feel like I would have believed it more. But he literally just like crawls away and is never seen again.
It literally shows, and I can't remember if it's in Phantom or Attack of the Clones, it shows Yoda looking into the future, right? Yet in this movie, he tells Anakin we shouldn't look into the future. Like looking into the future is dangerous and yada, yada, yada. Come on. Like you have to take some risks. And I think that's what it boils down to is the Jedi played it very safe for so long. And it was like, we follow these rules and this is how we do it so that we don't damage our credo or whatever and all this other stuff. And it ruined them. Like their code, the Jedi code ends up being garbage, like based off of something that doesn't even belong to them. Like, right. Cause that's the whole basis is using the Force as a weapon or using it to defend, the realms of whatever, the galaxy, whatever. Brian, go ahead, Caleb.
Can we talk about Order 66 for a bit?
Yeah, I definitely want to talk about Order 66.
Okay. Unless somebody had something else to say before we move Okay. Just my little rant on Order 66. I love the concept of it. I think it's really cool, and I love that was, something that Palpatine basically built into it. Although I will say I don't love the way that it's necessarily executed in this movie. Because it just makes all of the Jedi just go out like total punks, except for Yoda, and even Obi-Wan, like, by sheer luck survives Order 66. And so I just don't like that, like seeing all of these council members like just getting killed. Like, I know that's something too that like Dave Filoni hated, like when he went to see the movie, because he's what's the name of that Jedi? Someone help me out. The wolf one. Mikey, you know it. No, not Mace. No, the one that's in the fighter that dies. Oh my god.
Oh, Plo Koon?
Plo Koon. Yeah, Dave Filoni was a huge Plo Koon fan. And I remember I read that he went and saw the movie dressed up as Plo Koon and then was just devastated seeing how Plo Koon just went out like a total punk. And that's something this movie I feel like gets so rough and it feels so rushed. And I get that they're trying to convey the scale of it in such a short amount of time. But what I do love is that they've been able to go back and expand on what that was like in various other forms of media. And those have been some of my favorite scenes in other Star Wars media, whether that was in, most recently like Bad Batch doing it with Caleb Dune or Kanan Jarrus and doing it with that was really cool. Or in Jedi Fallen Order, seeing that whole scene that you actually get to play through on the ship is such an awesome scene. Spoiler. But my favorite is with Ahsoka in Clone Wars, like that whole sequence, and with her like breaking out Maul and watching that whole thing unfold is just so stinking cool. And I love that so much. So while I don't love the way that it was necessarily executed, like in this movie, the way that they've been able to expand on it in other forms has just been one of my favorite things in all of Star Wars. It's so cool. The emotions and just all the different things they're able to convey like through that thing. Because it's just such a huge turning point in like the Star Wars like universe.
It was like almost not a big deal. It was like, just go execute Order 66 and just do it.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Mikey.
In defense, in a way, roundabout way of Order 66, they did. I come to like, I wonder after watching Clone Wars, I hate to refer to the show this whole time, but they did assign entire battalions of really perfected like clone troopers to like 1 or 2 Jedi. And I wonder if that was on purpose, because it was never like 5 or 6 Jedi had like a crew. It was only 1 or 2. And part of me thinks that maybe Palpatine did that on purpose. So he knew when time came, they're going to be outnumbered and like, they're more than likely going to die.
I think he's just saying that the movie doesn't portray it well.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Get that. Yeah,
like because every scene that you're getting, it's like either 2 clones in a vehicle shooting at the one.
It's true
Jedi, or it's like a group of 10 clones shooting at the Jedi in a circle.
Yeah,
and then my favorite,
or shooting them in the back. And I just don't like that.
My favorite was Ayla Secura, who was like, "Huh, dead."
Yeah. The one on Felucia, right?
Yeah. She like there was a chance. There was a split second where she was like, "Something's different."
Yeah. She barely even got. I don't even think she got her lightsaber.
Nope,
ignited.
she just was dead. And these are Jedi Masters that should have mowed through half a battalion before someone took him down.
Yeah. Or the thing that doesn't work. There's a Padawan at the Jedi Temple.
He does better than the Jedi Masters.
Exactly. Like he's mowing through the 501st and like just mowing through them, and
the best of the best. The best of the best of the troopers, like literally Anakin's squad, who is literally like renowned as being like the most like battle hardened. And he just makes them look like a bunch of punks.
He was an up and comer.
Yeah. He was past tense.
That was George Lucas's kid, right?
Oh, was it?
I think so.
Yeah.
He's dead now. Doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
It killed
my
that young
thing. And we kind of been talking about the whole trilogy, or at least I have, because I like to look at the entire picture, right? At least with these 3 movies. And with why didn't the Jedi ask any questions about this clone army? No one ever said anything. No one ever asked about it. It's like, okay, this government ordering, okay, the government has a freaking top class, top of the line army.
I think it shows just how desperate they were in that situation, because that's like the only explanation for it, because it is so sketchy. Like
It
the
is.
whole
Yeah,
thing.
desperate, yes. I also would use another word even more: complacent.
Yeah.
So much of the Jedi's downfall was because they were complacent and they were comfortable in the fact that they had been in power since the Old Republic, and it's like they just took it all for granted.
Yeah, they didn't even. Well, and
Yeah.
that's the thing too, is even in Attack of the Clones, they talk about, the Kaminoans talk about, it's like, this is the finest clone army we've ever made, indicating they've made it before. They've made clones there before. Because we don't really know how long Kaminoans live, or at least I don't. But just to, they could have heard of clone armies from the past. But at the same time, it's like Obi-Wan goes to talk to that, barkeep guy in the second movie, and he's like, oh yeah, they're cloners, sure. I don't know, there's just all these things that come to mind where it's like, why didn't you just at least ask some questions? And especially since Obi-Wan knew maybe Sifo-Dyas was a little shady, perhaps, which we have, kind of come to know to be a thing, that he kind of, at least things that I've read, he kind of had a weird reputation, like kind of a strange Jedi. So why wouldn't have Obi-Wan at least said, hey, we need to like investigate, like, yeah, I saw the clone army. It's insane. What happened? It's like, oh, well, this, I don't know. That's just something that's never sat right with me. But I guess, like you said, they could have just been complacent. Go ahead, Mikey.
I think it's because they had so many middlemen between. Obi-Wan was the first person or first Jedi to see that, and then they probably had so many people in the Senate speaking to several different Jedi on the board, where it probably got lost in translation that, oh, it's probably not that big of a deal. Obi-Wan's probably, how he is.
We need this army. Like,
yeah, like
we need this army to take out the Trade Federation. So
Yeah.
why are you, like, quit complaining?
Yeah, which is
Yeah,
insane.
Dude, they were like so willing to take the Kaminoans or whatever, their word for it, that it was actually Sifo-Dyas that had showed up and like had actually like ordered that army
Exactly.
to be done. Like they were so willing to just accept that. And I think, yeah, it's because of complacency and I think desperation. And they're like, well, this is convenient. Let's just go for it. And yeah.
Yeah. Need to win big war. Big man need to win big war. Is there anything that anyone else wants to bring out that they have written down? Because I definitely want to talk about Padme and Anakin for a little bit. Go ahead, Rex.
I mean, it's kind of about that, but basically I didn't really care for Hayden Christensen's performance and his acting that much.
Really, is
I don't
water
feel like
also wet?
That was a nice way of saying that, Rex.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I know he gets like a really bad rap, and I don't know how much maybe he was told to act in a certain way, but when you put him with Ewan McGregor and Samuel L. Jackson, it just doesn't hold up.
Well, and Ian McDermott, that
Yeah.
scene where he finally like turns and submits to Palpatine, I mean, it would have been so much more powerful without a guy saying, "I pledge myself to you, Master."
It's so bad.
Oh,
Just
it really
everything. I
undermined
wasn't
every
sure if
scene.
you guys were gonna bring it up.
It undermined every scene he was in. It really did.
If I feel like it takes the movie down a couple notches.
It does.
And you know what? And that's kind of what I was saying at the beginning of it feeling jarring. I think a lot of that is because of Anakin and the random stuff that he blurts out.
Well,
His monotone voice.
The dialogue for everybody except Palpatine is pretty bad. But then you see different levels of actor and how they can handle it. Ewan McGregor does beautifully with some very bad dialogue. Ian McDermott does amazing, but he actually had good dialogue. Natalie Portman pulls it out more, I think, than she was able to in some of the previous movies. Hayden Christensen just is not a good.
You brought him here to kill me.
He's not a good enough actor to spin gold out of those lines.
You will
which
not
is a
take it
shame.
from me.
He bombed so
It's
Hayden,
hard.
is that you?
Yeah, it's like
Probably
Hayden,
would've
settle down, man. Actually, you know what? Keep it rolling. Keep it rolling.
He
God,
should have
God.
just like just had him scream and just sprint at him instead of having lines.
God,
I
that
could just
whole
see Lucas being like, "Wait, cut, hold on, Hayden, that was perfect."
Yeah, exactly,
Dude.
Yeah,
that whole scene on that platform is just so rough. It's so bad and it's so long. It like goes on forever and it's just there's no good part of it.
Did you ever see the Jimmy Fallon spoof where they like Jimmy Fallon was playing Hayden Christensen and he's like, "Oh, hey, Padme, what's up?" And she's like, "What have you done?" He's like, "Oh, yeah, I've grown some bratwurst. It's going to be great. We're having a barbecue." And he's like, "Actually, Obi-Wan, he borrowed my white tunic, but he got barbecue sauce on it." "Oh, look, there he is." He goes, "You have done that yourself." And he's like, "No, I'm pretty sure you're the one that spilled the barbecue sauce on it, bro." Like, it's so funny because it is. It's awkwardly, uncomfortably long. And like the whole relationship between Padme and Anakin, at no point ever in these movies, thank God for the Clone Wars. At no point ever through these movies do I ever buy that these two people love each other. There could not be worse chemistry on the planet. It is
You
so
can't
bad.
Love a piece of wood.
It's sad that the Clone Wars makes these look good.
Yeah.
'Cause they're both not great.
Yeah. No, and
But
it's hard because usually whenever you think of someone being in love and it's like, you know, the passion's there and like, it's like, okay, they've obviously had sex. She's pregnant. Okay, good. Okay, at least we have that. You know what I mean? Because you kind of have to. There has to be some passion there. Yeah,
What is
exactly.
happening?
Basically. But no, I'm just saying it's just so unbelievable. It is that there's a reason it doesn't work, and it's because it's not a believable love story. And they have horrible chemistry. Like that scene where she's like, he's like, no, it's because I'm so in love with you, you know. And she's like, she just like stares at him, and then like it does like a dip from like a tile dip basically, and she just stands there awkwardly. I'm like, what in God's name was that? What is that? Like, God.
I feel like if they wouldn't have gotten such like, because she's a decent actress.
Yeah,
It's very good,
yeah.
actually.
Acting with him makes her look bad. If they would have just got somebody on
Yeah.
his level,
I
I think
agree.
it probably would have worked.
Because
She's
he's like,
a great actress.
he's
Yeah.
just like,
if they'd gotten a bad actress,
Right?
we
It
would have just
probably
been
would've
like,
been like, yeah, I
these are
believe
two very awkward people that obviously belong together because
Get
they're so
right.
incredibly awkward.
get Anna Faris, get Anna Faris in there, you know. Anakin, Anakin, Chris. It's like that would have been way better. Like,
Oh my God, Anakin!
yeah,
I'm pregnant.
I'm pregnant. Exactly. Oh my God, I love it. I just okay. So here is their arc. Literally, first movie, Padme is thirsting for a toddler. Their second movie, they haven't seen each other for 10 years. And her fantasies finally get to come to light as she, you know, tortures this young man for a solid 2 hours on Naboo. And then finally in the third movie, how did we get here is my question, you know? And that's why I say, like, thank God for the cartoon. I can't believe I just said that. Thank God for the cartoon, because there's no substance there at all. And it's sad because it could have been way different, you know, and I think it could have even worked with those actors. Truly, I think it could have. It could have. And we would have still been saying it was bad. But for me, I would have been saying, yeah, it was bad, but at least there was more there to go off of, you know, like, I don't know. It's never made sense for me ever. And it's hard for me to get on board. Like, yes, I love Luke Skywalker, but in a way, I feel like their romance is a detriment to Luke Skywalker because I don't care about the romance and I'm supposed to. And that, I mean, am I wrong? What do you guys think?
There's nothing to care about in the romance. There's nothing to grab onto.
Exactly.
And it's, you know, it's the same thing I said in Attack of the Clones. There's absolutely no reason for her to fall for him.
Exactly.
Unless he's literally the first man she's ever encountered in her life. and she's like,
Oh my
finally,
God,
my
you're a
dreams have come
guy.
true. And she has literally no one to compare him to except like
Yeah.
droids. And
Yeah.
Yeah, the
there-
C3PO.
Yeah, and in this one,
and Jar Jar.
they just have, again, no chemistry, and there's nothing like there's nothing to cling to. There's nothing that you could say, oh, that was nice. It's just all really weird.
How old is Ewan McGregor supposed to be in the first movie? Because wouldn't
Like
he
19, I think.
Wouldn't he be more of a prospect than Anakin for her?
I think they're around the same age, actually.
Man, that's a
'cause she's
really
like
weird thought.
She's like 15 in that movie. She's supposed to be 15, right? And Anakin's like 10. Right?
Yeah, she's, I think, 4 or 5 years older than him. It's like 8 and or 9 and 14 or something like that.
She totally wouldn't swoon in for that rat tail. Come on. Everybody knows it.
Well, there were rumors that, when those movies were coming out, that part of why Anakin goes so bad is that Obi-Wan and Padme end up having an affair.
Which would have made sense. Love that.
Wouldn't that have been juicy?
It would have been because of freaking Obi-Wan and Satine or whatever her name was, and the Clone Wars, because Obi-Wan loved that girl or whatever. Like, could have been trying to get that Padme. You never know.
What if Luke? Then you didn't know if Luke was actually a Skywalker.
That's exactly what I was gonna say. Is like, I feel bad that the relationship that I care about most in Star Wars is Luke and his sister in Empire. Right. It's like, oh, maybe they're gonna be a thing. Oh, they're brother and sister. Okay, and I guess Han and Leia, but I mean, I don't know, man. Like, never really done it for me.
No, I like the Han and Leia thing. Yeah,
I like it in Empire.
The stuffy princess versus the rogue. That's classic.
Yeah. It's Shakespearean. All right. What else?
I have a quick thought.
Go ahead.
I want to talk about the ending duel. There are parts of that duel that are genuinely thrilling.
Yeah.
And like what you'd mentioned before, like how fast and deft they were, and like there were parts, truly impressive. That was actually, I mean, I love the Darth Maul one, and that, it's the one that gets all the press. I actually prefer this one because it feels, it's so fast, and they just never stop, and they're executing moves. You could tell that's actually the guy doing it, and they were impressive. So there's that part. But then there's a part, it becomes, the further you get into it, I think it devolves into the wrong kind of spectacle. It starts out fast and furious, but still personal. And then
family.
Yeah. Obi-Wan should have been like, you're my family.
Yeah.
And it would have fixed everything. So yeah, it starts out so quick and it's very impressive, but still personal. But then it devolves into them, leaping off all of that stuff.
It basically turns into the fight from Princess Bride, like the first sword fight, where we're just kind of like,
it would have been so much more powerful if instead of going bigger, they had gone more personal. And we should have felt in every swing, and more as they went on, it should have felt like a tragedy that this was happening. I think if I always go back to what would I have done if I was writing the scene. I would have had it where even in mid-battle, Obi-Wan is still trying to reach Anakin. He's still
exactly what I was going to say.
Trying to say something, do something, anything to break through to Anakin. And there could be, you would even have times where you could see if he took the swing, he would win. He would chop Anakin in half, and he refuses to take it even when it endangers his own life. And the only time when he goes full out is right at the very end, when it becomes obvious that Anakin is refusing to be redeemed. But the thing that almost all of these lightsaber fights in these movies get wrong, as much as I love lightsaber fights, is that a fight scene should have an arc just like any other story element. It should have a beginning, a middle, and an end, and it should start one way and end with something having changed at the end, and not just somebody losing. So you should have had an arc where it starts out kind of like a grudge match, and then it becomes more tragic until the end, when Obi-Wan finally resigns himself to say, I have to go through with this. And it would have been just so much more powerful and tragic. It would have also helped if Hayden Christensen could act. That probably would have undercut that if they had tried. But I wish so much that had felt more tragic.
Because basically Obi-Wan's like, I will do it, I must. Get wrecked, kid. Like, it just, he doesn't even try. Yeah. No, I totally agree with everything you just said. Go ahead, Mikey.
It's sad when like Star Wars, the biggest like film series of all time, it's sad when the fight scene from Cable Guy is more interesting than the climactic fight scene in your trilogy. Yeah.
Come back so that I may brain thee.
Yeah. Oh my God. Oh God.
Sorry about that.
It's so true. Like, I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, they're swinging on like these like chords or whatever, and you're like, I'll get you, and it just becomes laughable. It's too long. Go ahead, Caleb.
No, I was actually gonna say this is definitely my favorite lightsaber throughout the entire trilogy. There's only one, in my opinion, that actually even really comes close to it, and we'll get to it. And I think it's because of how well choreographed it is and how much emotion comes into it. Because especially at the beginning, I will agree, it trails off towards the end until you get to the high ground part of it. And when they're like climbing and surfing on, like, you lose me there. But the beginning of it, when they're actually like in the complex, is just so good because it is so emotional. And you don't always get that. There's not a whole lot of emotions in a lot of the lightsaber fights, but the ones that really shine are the ones where there are emotions, and that emotion is very clearly conveyed. I do agree with Ryan. I think it would have been great to have seen Obi-Wan still trying to appeal to Anakin throughout the fight. I think that would have made it better. I mean, but you can always make things better. And I still think this is a really, really, really good scene, and it's really enjoyable and really entertaining to watch.
Agreed. All right. Does anyone have anything else they want to say before we wrap this thing up? Go ahead, Caleb.
I love Ewan McGregor as Obi-Wan Kenobi. He's fantastic in this. I love his interactions with General Grievous. Sure, maybe some of his dialogue isn't the best, but I'll never not smile when I hear hello there. Like, it's just, I love it so much.
General Kenobi.
Or I love the little callback when after he shoots Grievous and he just says, so uncivilized, and like throws the blaster down, like a callback to A New Hope when he's talking about the lightsaber being from a more civilized age. Like I love that little stuff, and I love his character so much. Like, Obi-Wan might be my favorite character in all of Star Wars. He's just great, and
He's
love
the
him
best.
in this. Yeah, I love him in this movie. He's amazing.
Say it, baby. Just say it.
I enjoyed seeing seeds of the rebellion in Padme. That was cool, where she kind of tries to subtly bring up some thoughts to Anakin. I guess it seemed like to me to kind of test the waters, like she's been feeling this for a long time and wants to see if he's had similar thoughts. She gives up quickly because it's obvious he hasn't. But I thought that was cool. It's like, oh, okay, you could see the seeds of the rebellion are already forming. So I liked that. As much as I liked that, I equally hated she has lost the will to live. That was man, that was just awful.
Felt like
They
a
should-
cop out.
They should have just gone all in and have Anakin accidentally kill her.
Yep.
Just the whole, not only is it just dumb, but she's sitting there, she's laying there, insisting about Anakin. There's still good in him. If she really believed that, she wouldn't have lost the will to live. There's no reason. They gave her no reason to lose the will to live. It was just so lazy. And the cop out.
I'm just imagining, like, what if you have that whole scene where she's giving birth on Polis Massa and they're all there, but Anakin as Darth Vader, and he has his armors like coming after them, and he comes through there, and like they're rushing and they're getting Luke and Leia out of there so that they can get them into hiding, and Vader's coming in, and Vader, like, they're not able to get Padme out, and then Vader just, for whatever reason, like out of hate or anger, kills Padme. That'd be extreme, but it would be so cool.
It would have been awesome. I mean, he could have killed her, and like, let's say he gets there, but
where's my kids?
Because he wouldn't have known there were twins. He gets there, and where's my child? They're gone, and you'll never find them. Dead.
Yeah.
Because
Yeah,
then
that would have been awesome.
That's
Yeah.
like relatable because we see that happen all the time, right? In modern day, that's real. Yeah. And it would have been extreme, but then again, later on, it would have redeemed Vader even more. Like whenever he does come back and it's like, yeah, I killed my freaking wife, dude. Like, and I killed my wife and I tried to kill you and your sister. And I'm sorry. Like,
I do still think, just on a side note, it's kind of crazy to say we have to hide this boy from his father. Quick, give him to his father's family and give him his last name. He'll never find him.
Wait, I have an even better idea. If you don't want to make Anakin do it, have Palpatine come through there and do it, like chasing them out. Like that could have been awesome too. Like with his, the guards and stuff, and they're like doing damage. Like that would have been cool too. Like,
and then
if you don't want
Palpatine
Vader
knows
to have to do
forever.
it.
Like then
Yeah.
you know for sure that Palpatine knows and keeps it from Anakin anyways for years and years. Yep. Go ahead, Mikey.
I feel like for me, that would be cool. But for me, if Obi-Wan did take Anakin, if he brought him back with him to see Padme, like, and they're like basically side by side, he's like in the operating room and she's in the other operating room, and they're both maybe gonna die. And then she ends up dying, and then somehow Palpatine gets a hold of Anakin because he has control over everything. And he's like, yeah, you killed her, because they were so close. And he has no idea, because he's in so much pain and has no idea what's going on. That would kind of be cool to me too, because then it wouldn't be, I feel like he might be irredeemable if he was to kill everybody like that. That might be too much.
That's why I'm saying just have Palpatine do it. Have Palpatine do it, like while Anakin's out, and then
he's already killed a bunch of younglings. I mean,
that's true.
Yeah.
But then telling him, like, after Palpatine has been the one that actually killed her, like for him to go to him and be like, "Oh, you killed her," and like have him believe that.
That would be a good betrayal. Yeah.
He's all,
yeah. I'll tell you one of the things that I did like about, and it's something I always knew, but it didn't really hit me until this time for some reason. I love how Palpatine knew from the beginning that one day Anakin was going to overthrow him, but he's so like dedicated to the Sith way that he's cool with it. He just knows, one day you're going to kill me and you're going to be more powerful, and that's the way it goes.
But until then, I'm going to soak out everything I can from you, and you're going to hunt down these Jedi for the next 25 years or whatever, and all this other stuff. So, Rex, did you have something to add?
You're actually not going to kill me.
I'm going to say, maybe
come back.
if you have twin Jedis, it sucks all the life force out of you.
God. Oh God. Okay. On that note, time to wrap this bad. No, I'm just kidding. I don't have anything else to say. Does anyone else have anything they want to bring up and talk about before we wrap this up?
Oh, one thing. I didn't come up with this. I read it, and it reoccurred to me while I was watching this when Palpatine is telling Anakin at the start to leave Obi-Wan, and Anakin says his fate will be the same as ours. Quite prophetic, since all three of them end up dying on a Death Star.
That is kind of crazy. His fate will be the same as ours. Yeah.
Well, Palpatine died in an arena, so
I was gonna say.
No, he didn't.
Zombie Palpatine. Oh God.
One more just quick thing I'll say. I love the opening of this movie up until Anakin speaks. But like that opening shot of all of the ships over Coruscant is really, really cool. I love that.
You don't but this is where the fun begins.
I don't know, because then it reminds me that, oh gosh, the rest of this movie is going to have dialogue like that, and I have to sit through it. So
it seems like what we're saying is this movie is pretty good, decent, minus Hayden Christensen.
Basically.
Yeah, and George Lucas is directing. / writing.
Exactly.
Yeah, I feel like by this point, all of the actors figured out how to get it done in spite of George Lucas, except for Hayden Christensen.
You can almost feel kind of the tension. Like, I feel like the only one who is really having fun with these movies kind of felt like Ewan McGregor. Like, I
agree.
Kind of saw it for what it was, as like, yeah, man, I get to swing a stick around for my job. Like, that's what I do. And, yeah, no. And I mean, Hayden Christensen, who wasn't really a really well-known actor for the time, has the entire, has the pressure of an entire franchise on his shoulders, literally. And it has to succeed. So
You're muted, Gabe.
I know I have to blow my nose.
Oh,
He
okay.
had to blow his little nostrils.
Intermission.
Maybe it's because Hayden Christensen was so conflicted with the direction and all the pressure that he seemed so unconflicted in the actual movie. It just didn't come across.
He probably definitely had the most pressure on him.
For sure, man.
Yeah, it's true. All right, let's put a number on this thing and wrap this thing up. I'm going to go first. I'll give Revenge of the Sith a 7. Caleb?
Yeah, that's what I was going to give it, as a 7.
Is that what we all give it? What do you think, Mikey?
I'll give it a 6.9.
Ooh.
God, all right. A 6.9 for Mikey. Rex, what do you think?
Yeah, I think it's a 7.
Or
I really think George Lucas just kind of, he like tried to go big on other things, and he really, the film ended up lacking in a lot of details and stuff that you wanted to see.
Yeah.
And the world like was cool and felt good, but ultimately it wasn't good enough. So yeah, 7. It was decent.
Ryan?
Well, first of all, I think it's hilarious that Anakin was a Sith Lord for one day before getting chopped to pieces. Thought that was kind of funny. They never draw attention to it, but it's like, this was not a great career choice. I'd say it's a 7. And I don't know. I think if I was looking at it purely coldly in the movie pantheon, I'd probably give it a 6. But it's markedly better than the 2 that came before it. And there are a few things in it that I think are really, really well done. Just, a few like really golden moments. So yeah, I'll give it a 7.
Okay. I think
7's all around.
7's all around, except for Mikey. Mikey gave it a
Shut up, Mikey.
6.925.
That's a 7.
God. Ladies and gentlemen, we've gotten through another episode of the Wannabe Collective from the movie crew. That's not like our true name, but I don't know. It's just, we're the movie crew. We're the crew that reviews movies. So anyways, we have a New Hope to look forward to next week for sure. And then after that, we'll be tackling the Daniel Craig Bond movies. So we will get a tribe together to do that. There'll probably 4 or 5 of us to review those, along with one of those being a guest host. So buckle up, it's going to happen. You can look forward to a lot of more things coming on this podcast feed. If you're not subscribed to us on YouTube, it would really mean the world if you would do that. That's where most, pretty much all of the group content gets posted there, except for Game Club. The Game Club stuff gets posted over on The Wannabe Critic on YouTube. So thank you so much. Where do you want people to be able to find you? Just plug all your stuff, do the thing, just go for it.
I'm at Chief in NY18 on Twitter. Anyone else?
At Ryan Dalton on Twitter, at Ryan Dalton on Instagram, and your favorite bookseller.
There you have it. Rex.
What was that? Sorry.
Rex?
Oh, yeah.
People be able to
At
find you?
Rex90, WRECKS90 on Twitter. Hit me up.
I am at officially nothing now. I deleted my Twitter, so you can't find me.
Okay, there you have it. You can email us at the Wannabe Collective if you want to get in touch with us, or follow us on Instagram or Twitter at Wannabe Critic Productions for those. But it's better if you just email us at the Wannabe Collective. So
There you go.
it's been a great episode, gentlemen. I look forward to next week, and say goodbye.
Adios.
Bye.
Goodbye.
So long.
Well, whatever possessed you to check out any of the content that you saw today, I just want to say thank you so much for doing so. If you check the description down below, you'll see that there's a variety of different projects that I'm associated with. This is Wannabe Critic Productions after all. So I just wanted to say, if you enjoyed what you saw today, consider giving some of those other projects a chance as well. There's a lot of stuff that I'm a part of that that I do. If you were here for me or for someone else that you saw today, again, just thank you for checking it out, and I hope to see you again. But until next time, I'm Gabriel Fast, and I'll always be the Wannabe Critic.